I used to be a pretty big fan of one Elon Musk. I was amazed that he had started this company that was going to democratize space and allow people to travel there cheaper, and that electric cars were here, and they were going to save the planet. And that's when I started noticing, okay, well, he made a flamethrower. Maybe something's a little off about this guy. And then as the pandemic hit and he started taking to Twitter with his hot takes about uh, COVID and other things, I started to realize that this guy's not as smart as I thought he was. He's probably a bit of a grifter. He's definitely not Tony Stark. And then I started looking into it more, and Elon Musk is basically a stand-in. He's a token. He's a the front-facing person who basically, through either omission or direct words, takes credit for the work that's done by hundreds of people in his company. And he makes it sound as if he's the one who designed these rockets and everything like that, which is just not the case. It's just not the case. He's not a rocket scientist. He's a businessman who's an armchair scientist. Besides that, I just started to realize that he's just another clueless fucking billionaire. As I was watching, the things he was saying during the first parts of the pandemic and on into more present times. So I wanted to go over this story with you, and this just kind of made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. So I figured, my audience are a bunch of uh, masochists. They'll like this too. So Elon Musk says he took his children to watch the common folk hoard supplies in panic. He's right, but he shouldn't say it. I even said this, like people running after toilet paper and freaking out and buying every bit of sanitizer that you could find in a store. It was ridiculous. I mean, I'm the type of person who thinks that Black Friday is fucking ridiculous and is consumerism at its lowest. But that was a new low for the annals of history as far as this country is concerned in their economics. So let them have their toilet paper. In the world's best example of two wrongs don't make a right, Elon Musk says he took his kids to Walmart to watch the plebeians of the world panic buy toilet paper. Musk made a quip about customers springing to buy paper products during Tesla's Q4 earnings call this week, in which he compared the global chip shortage to the toilet paper shortages that hit during the early pandemic and still plague certain areas. Not even the same fucking thing, Elon. Not nearly the same thing. First of all, the toilet paper shortages and sanitizer shortages, cleaning supplies shortages, those were all caused by panic from the unknown, from panic from not knowing what's going to happen next with the pandemic, and not knowing how to deal with the situation. You know, why they focused on toilet paper uh, instead of food or something like that is beyond me. Why they did this to begin with is beyond me. I mean, I can kind of understand it. You get into a panic and you try to do whatever you can to secure yourself, right? So it was a crazy thing. Now, the chip supply shortage comes from the actual pandemic, and not only that, but several other things that have contributed to the supply chains basically giving way and all of the holes in them failing. So That's where we're having a bit of an issue with that. It's completely a different thing. It was one was based on panic, and then the other one's based upon the real conditions that are going on in this world right now. He continues on. There was a toilet paper shortage during COVID, and like obviously it wasn't really certainly a tremendous enhanced need for ass wiping, Musk said, according to the transcript of the call. People got every paper you could possibly wipe your ass with. I was like, is this like a real thing or not? I actually took my kids to the HEB and Walmart in Texas. Indeed it was. Musk went on to mock people for stocking up on toilet paper, saying that if the end of the world was truly coming, it was exactly the kind of thing that would help anyone survive. Would help anyone or whatever. Toilet paper is the least of your problems, Musk quipped. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. See, the thing he doesn't understand is that he doesn't have these anxieties. I mean, I'm saying that was irrational. It was irrational for them to go gung ho and try to like clear everybody out of toilet paper and sanitizer and shit like that. But you can kind of understand where they were coming from. I mean, there was an anxiety there that isn't felt by people in the owner class, right? So he knows, regardless of if the world's ending or not, he has enough money to barricade himself from the world, to insulate himself from all of the problems that a regular person would have to deal with. He has no issues that he can't solve with the money that he has, right? It's kind of ridiculous that he would comment on the anxiety of the common man, of the working class, when he has none of those worries whatsoever. It's bullying at its finest. It's like the kids that used to make fun of me for wearing hand-me-downs in elementary school. It's ridiculous. But on a larger scale and much meaner in certain ways. Wipe yourself. Was Musk being totally insensitive to all of his non-rich people who have to worry about the real consequences of a real pandemic? Yes. Or is it pretty pointless to stock up on toilet paper? Also yes. But as mentioned, two wrongs don't make a right. It's true that according to WebMD, TP demand grew to 1.45 billion in sales in the 4-week period ending in March of 2020, up 112% from the year before. It's also true that if everyone bought just what they needed, there would be enough to go around and stores wouldn't have to limit how many packages a customer could buy. Additionally, panic buying only exacerbates supply chain shortages, and that all toilet paper is made from wood pulp, a resource we should be trying to use less of, not more, which is what I was saying earlier, that we need to figure out alternative ways or alternative methods of building and alternative materials to use in order to mitigate deforestation and to mitigate climate change, because trees are needed to breathe. It's not some sort of like lie. That's really a thing, there's a reason that they call the Amazon the lungs of the world. Grudgingly, yes, Musk is right, but that doesn't mean he needs to sound so smug. And he does that all the time. He may be right on occasion, but he's basically completely devoid of any perspective when it comes to the working class people and what they're going through. Exactly. Off time. Yeah, trees need CO2 to live, which is going to help the climate because it's going to suck up some of the CO2. Not all of it, because we produce that shit in fucking droves. Like, there's no way for every tree on the planet. If the whole planet was covered with trees, we would still probably produce over the amount of CO2 that they could consume. And they also create oxygen, which is something that we need to live. So this is something that we shouldn't do for trees. And I do think hemp is a good alternative. There's hempcrete, which is a good building material. There's several other things that we can use. We don't have to cut down our living source of oxygen in the world in order to create housing. There's other ways to do it. Well, and so more CO2 equals higher growth rate of trees. That's a ridiculous and completely illogical statement because, okay, so let me put it this way. We eat tacos, right? We eat food, right? So what happens if we eat and continue to eat, and then like food just buries us and we have to eat our way out? Like, I mean, eventually we're going to fucking explode or we're going to become unhealthy. Too much of anything is bad. Too much of anything is bad. So the trees that we have in this world cannot absorb the amount of CO2 that we're adding to the atmosphere. Like I said, even if 90%, even 100% of the world was covered with trees, it would not take away the amount of CO2 that we're creating as human beings in the industrial society. So therefore, we need to find other ways to generate power as well. It makes it sound as if you're saying that the trees need us to produce CO2 in order for them to live. But this is just not the case. Trees have been around way, way, way longer than human beings, and in greater numbers since we have graced this planet with our presence. Heartland Institute says more CO2 is good for the planet. No, it's not. And it's not just CO2 in the atmosphere that's being released. There's several other chemicals that we're adding to the atmosphere that is causing a rift or causing the ozone layer to deplete, among other issues. If CO2 is so bad for the planet, why do greenhouse growers buy CO2 generators? Oh my God, man. Do you understand, like, that's regulated? Do you understand that that's a regulated thing? We're adding to an already balanced ecosystem with the amount of CO2 that we're creating. It's a regulated thing because they only need so much. It's not just CO2 that a plant needs anyways. Where are you getting your statistics from here, Off Time? Because I would say that 90% of the scientists in the world disagree with you. He says today's atmosphere only contains only 400 ppm of carbon dioxide. CO2 generators can help raise that level to 1,500 inside greenhouses, but it's regulated. You don't understand. It's not just the plants we're trying to save, it's the fucking planet. The plants may be able to absorb CO2, but the atmosphere is being weakened by it because there's an excess amount. You don't understand that excess amount is what's causing the problem. All right? Within the greenhouses, they can be regulated. It's trapped. And not only that, but to be honest, indoor greenhouses and things like that are not as safe for the planet as growing outdoors. That's just a fact. Because of the electricity that you have to generate in those situations and the chemicals that you have to use, so on and so forth. But you're completely off base. Just because a tree will eat carbon dioxide doesn't mean it's going to eat enough to save us from the atmosphere being depleted. All right? You're completely making illogical statements. You need to educate yourself a little bit more there. Anyways, we're going to call that good on the Elon Musk stuff and just know that he's not the bright bulb that we always make him out to be as a society. The guy's kind of a jackass.